Hello, everyone. We are live. This is going to be incredible. Welcome to the Business Players Live. How's everybody doing? I see there's some action already here in the chat. I'm super excited because we have a great friend, a great guy, great business guy, super badass business guy. Okay. So let's start with this. Let me present this guy before we jump in and start asking him some questions. So his name is David Cashion, okay? He has 10 years in the construction and restoration industry, okay? This guy is big guy in the industry. He knows the ins and out like pretty well, okay? He is the owner and CEO of $1 million contractor company. The name of the company is National Restoration. That's his business, okay? But he's also got a lot more that he's done in his life, okay? And he'll tell you more about it. But he's a retired 8-year Army veteran that was part of the Biochemical and Nuclear Warfare Defense Squad. I mean, woo! Thank you for your service, man. He's also a father, great husband, okay? And I mean, it's hard to combine being $1 million business, a father, and a husband. And he'll give you a little bit more about how he was able to pull that up, okay? Thank you so much. Big hand to my friend David from Charlotte. Woo! Let's go, David. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm wonderful, Jose. Thank you for having me, sir. I appreciate that. Appreciate the shout out too. It was nice.
100%.
Yeah, you are right. It is a lot. As a business owner, I know so many people throughout my life who have talked about they want to own their own business, and it's a lot. Any entrepreneur will tell you the same thing. It's cake. I'll do it. It's cake. But no, there's a lot that you're responsible for. You can be a trade professional, a master of your craft, whether you're in, whatever industry you're in, marketing, the construction industry, if you're a tile guy, a painter, an electrician, a plumber. And I know a ton of excellent guys out there who are masters of their trades. And being a business owner is a trade in itself. So when you become a business owner, it's said, and Grant always says that if you're working in your business, you're not working on your business, and it is 100%. It's 100% true. Learned a lot from him and Brandon Dawson, of course, over the year. But I guess what we're talking about today is real estate, is flipping houses specifically. So yeah, through my life, I've always held a job.
Sorry to interrupt you, man, but before we go there, I'm sure everybody here wants to know more about you, okay, your story. Like, this guy has an amazing story, okay? So let's touch a little bit into you, man, okay? Like
Absolutely.
How do you start all of this stuff? Tell us about you and, those days in the Army, all of that stuff.
Well, and my job, my company actually fits my background in the military. I've held a job since I was a kid, from baling hay when I was 8 years old, and leveling ground around new construction homes to when I was 13 years old. I finally officially had my first paycheck, on record, through the IRS. My first paycheck. I was a dishwasher for part-time at a local restaurant, and I thought I was a big shot at that time. Wasn't making any money at all, but it still made me feel really good about myself. But from that time forward, there wasn't a time that I didn't have a job. I had always wanted to do something more. When I was a kid, I thought me in 20 years, I was going to own a chain of nightclubs. And this was when I was in 5th grade or something. That didn't happen. But what I did know is that I wanted to be a business owner.
Wow.
You know, they always say, you know, you want to be your own boss. I don't want to work for anybody else. That while that may be true for many people, I think that perspective kind of jumps the gun. Knowing what I know now, hindsight's always 20/20. So I took a job surveying land after a bunch of different jobs, you know, that I had, you know, from the time I was 13 till I was 20. And it was at that point that I realized there were things in my life that I needed to learn, but didn't have the opportunity to do. So it's kind of why I joined the Army. It was amazing. You know, you learn how to manage time. There's excellent, you know, managerial skills that you learn. One, in becoming a soldier, and number two, how to manage stress. You are always and constantly in stressful situations in the military, and you have to be able to overcome that and, you know, move forward, or what we would call Charlie Mike, continue mission. So, you know, when I specialize in the biological, you know, warfare defense aspect of my certain mission occupational specialty, MOS for short. And essentially what we did was run a biological detection system, a biological integrated detection system, which essentially we would test, you know, air for, you know, VX nerve agents and sarin gas and things like that on the battlefield. Wow. So running that biological surveillance was oftentimes night missions. So we would have to, you know, work during the day and also at night. You know, the company was running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So a lot of that and what I learned translates now to what I do with water and fire damage, because at a biological level, you're dealing with, you know, contaminants that pose a huge risk to, you know, life and the welfare of the tenants and the occupants of a home or any building whatsoever, whether you work there or live there. With that being said, like, we'll paint a picture. Standing ankle deep in water. You wake up in the morning, you're going to get some coffee, and all of a sudden you walk in your kitchen and you're like, oh my gosh, my couch is floating. You know, everything is underwater. Oftentimes, if you've never had it happen to you, I'm telling you, it's a very shocking situation. It is the definition of stress when you have probably most people's biggest investment in shambles. And right. I see it often, you know, whether it's a fire or a water loss, you know, if you've never been through it, you know, luckily most people have insurance, but if it's a flood, most people don't, unless you have specific, you know, insurance. You don't really carry flood insurance unless you live at the beach or somewhere close to a body of water, and are required to carry it if you have a mortgage. Now, with that being said, it's a lot easier to deal with when you do have insurance, but money, you know, when it comes down to it, it's all about money or energy. Whether you spend or trade time or money, you're going to be, you know, you're going to be utilizing or using both of those in order to fix, you know, those problems. When I left the military, I took a job with a longtime friend of mine I went to school with, who owned a local construction company. And we were roofing, and we were making a lot of money doing it. But nice. When we were roofing, we oftentimes come across customers who had interior leaks as a result of you know, the roof being damaged, whether it was a tornado or a hailstorm or a, you know, windstorm that came through. We would dump large amounts of rain into people's homes. And, you know, naturally they asked us, you know, what do we do about this? You know, how can we get this fixed? As a construction company, I'm not just going to say, okay, well, I'm just going to do the roof. You can call somebody else for that. you bring that customer in and you want them to be a customer for life. So you naturally don't want them to go anywhere else. Especially after storms, we end up getting a high volume of calls. Whether it's 20, 30 jobs at a time that you're managing, it's a lot. It's a lot to not only be able to take care of your client, but also, do so in a way that's going to represent the company in the best, in the best light possible. So, again, going back to, when I left the military, I had all these different, all this training, all this, these life lessons and these abilities and skills that I had picked up in the military, but nowhere to use them. And transitioning from a military, lifestyle to a civilian lifestyle is
huge, huh?
It's just two different lives altogether. And, I was a little concerned leaving the military. Like, what am I going to do? How can I use what I've learned here in life and, in civilian life? So, that's over 7 years. I kind of, I had 100 ideas, thousands of ideas. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this. But anybody who knows me will tell you, David, just pick something, decide and commit to it and do it. Never once had I really pulled the trigger, or committed, went all in on anything. So, in the springtime of 2019, I decided to pull that trigger and said, you know what? I love what I do. I want to do this for the rest of my life, but I don't want to do it on a small scale. I want to take this as far as I can. If I'm going to decide to do something, then I'm going to go all in, which, you look at the name of my company, it's National Restoration. It's a big undertaking, and it is something that I'm committed to wholehearted. I know for a fact that my company will be a national brand by the time I retire. I always say that I set my target for 18 years. I have 18 more years to ensure that this is a national brand, and I believe that it's going to happen. So, in June of 2019, oftentimes a lot of the projects that were given to me were, word of mouth projects. It was just things that just landed in my lap, me talking to people that I know saying, okay, yeah, I started a company, but, there was no marketing at all whatsoever. And the plan, you write a business plan, people know writing a business plan, but in addition to that business plan, you need to write a plan for your marketing or for your brand house, because 100%. If you don't, you're going to lose focus just like that. So, over the last 3 years, 2 years ago, I am a completely different person, now than 2 years ago. I was still wet behind the ears when it comes to business per se. And while I knew my craft, I knew my trade, I knew how to, manage projects, and I knew how to get jobs done, I didn't really know I didn't know who I was as a business owner. So where I met you, Jose, yeah. I recognized that I needed to, there's a saying, it's fail hard or fail fast. It was a cycle that I was repeating over and over, where I would go out and I would, anybody will tell you, especially starting out in the construction industry, you are going to have cash flow issues, as most business owners do. Let's face it. Let's be honest. You're going to face cash flow issues. You have bills to pay. You have risks that you've taken on, and you got to figure out a way to pay for it. And sometimes you don't really know how you're going to survive. My first 6 months in business, I was very fortunate, and ended up with somewhere around $200,000 in revenue in my first, and I was a one-man show at that point. And my second year, 2020, in in business. I had a little less than 500K in revenue in 2020, but it was confirmation that I was doing. I'm growing.
Right.
I'm doing something. It may not be the right thing, but I am doing something. And now entering into my third year, June of 2020 was the start of my, I guess, really second full year in business, which is kind of where I'm at. June of 2022 will be my third year in business, or the start of my third year in business. So, I hit $1 million this year. I did in revenue.
Let's go. Congratulations, man.
It is huge. It's a huge milestone for me. Everybody wants to hit that $1 million mark, but you hit $100,000 in your business, and that's the hardest $100,000 you're going to make. You find that model that works, and then you master it, and you mimic it, and then you master it. Model, mimic, and master. Right? That's what it is.
That's right, man.
In business, you try to keep it as simple as you possibly can, but you have got to figure out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and fix your weaknesses. You got to find out what your talents are, what your weaknesses are, and make your weaknesses stronger. And then when you do figure out where the cog in your wheels are, you correct them. You take it one step at a time. You correct it, and then the sky's the limit at that point.
Right.
The people who are successful in business, a lot of them make it look easy and make it sound easy, but when you're starting out in business, you're blind. You're walking blind, and
100%.
until you start solving problems and build confidence in yourself, you're not gonna. You just need to step out and grow. But there are more millionaires made working for other people than there are companies that started on their own, because most people that start companies on their own are probably masters in their craft. They know how to do their certain trade that they're wanting to start a business in, but they don't have business principles. They don't know how to actually run a business. And that's something that I've had to fail and learn on. This is my baby. It's my first company that I've ever started, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let it fail. I mean, obviously you're going to fail, but overall,
that's never going to happen, man.
Nope.
David, let me ask you two more questions before we go into the real estate realm. Bro,
okay.
What was the thing that made you decide, okay, I'm going to be a business owner?
I've always been a dreamer. From the time I was little to, I'm still a dreamer, but the difference between a dream and a vision is the courage to act. So you take action and it's no longer a dream. Going back to, from the time that I left the military, I love what I do. I love being connected to my community. I love being involved in my community. And I believe that what I'm doing here and that what I'll be doing across the country is important. It's not only is it can be profitable, but you don't make a home run on everything that you do out there. Being out here and working in this, multi-billion-dollar industry, close to $1 trillion industry, quite honestly, is
intimidating.
It's great. And there's a lot of competition, but there's a lot of hacks out here too. There's a lot of companies out here who don't treat people well, and then there are opposing forces within the industry that don't make it easy for people to live, quite honestly. I always compare projects. I'm getting sidetracked. I do that often.
Don't worry, man.
Let's back up.
Okay, go ahead.
To answer your question, what what really made me decide to start this company was, I would say, my family. You know, my family
Beautiful.
is really why I decided to pick up what I was doing and do it myself, as a business owner, because working with my buddy, it was great in what we were doing, but he had a different vision than I did, and while we're still close today, and we didn't have a falling out or anything, but we just outgrew each other, I guess. As far as that's concerned, right. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to go in a different direction. So he respected that, and here I am today.
Yeah, man, you're killing it. This guy is an inspiration. He's a great friend of mine. Let me just give you guys some insight about how we met. So we were in this $15,000 seminar, okay? And David was my neighbor. He was next to me. And then we connected. And since then, we've been in touch. And let me tell you, when I met him, he was, like he said, 500,000, okay, a year. And now he exploded his business, okay? He's got better, bigger crew. And he's had to make some tough decisions. But look at him now. He's $1 million business. I mean, that's huge, man. Yeah. You're killing it, man.
It'll be more this next year. It'll be more this next year.
Woo! 100%, of course. Man, last question about entrepreneurship and all of that stuff. So what was the biggest challenge when starting National Restoration? Because, like, maybe you don't know, but, like, my audience here is mostly people that they're starting their business and they see us as an inspiration because they haven't done it yet, Team
building, the hardest opportunity that I was tasked with completing was building a good team. Oftentimes we think, okay, and I'll give you an example, leading back to the military, I almost wanted to militarize my business and the processes that I wanted to put in place. But if you're not working with like-minded people, you need to connect with them on their level. So if they weren't in the military, why are you trying to, connect with them on a level, micromanaging time at a second when people haven't done that? They might know what they're going to be doing that day, but they don't know what they're going to be doing, 2 weeks from now and 6 months from now. They don't plan that far out. So you need to be able to relate to people on their terms, on their ground, in their mind. So figure out who you are as a person, like what your personality is. Do a DISC assessment. Figure out what your strengths are and how you communicate, not only with yourself, but what your tendencies are when you're communicating with other personalities. Right. Whether you're communicating with a dominant personality or somebody who's an influencer or a driver, which is also a dominant personality, somebody who wants to control the room and who's, very results oriented, versus somebody who might be a little bit shyer, that don't probably like to talk to people, might be considered an introvert, which doesn't really matter what personality you are, you can still be an introvert. But it's good to know who you are and who you are, in communication. So when you're out there looking for people and talking with people, whether you're in the grocery store or whether you're talking to friends or whether you're at a conference, you need to figure out and not be scared to, and be laser focused on the type of people that you need in order to ensure that your business is successful.
Right. So that determining who was the person that you needed for each position and on your team help you like a lot, right?
Yeah. For instance, I'm not going to put somebody in a project management position that doesn't have any experience in management. I'm not going to put somebody out in the field framing houses or repairing a deck that has only painted for a couple of years. You don't, you're working against yourself when you don't put somebody in the position to execute the overall mission.
Right.
So, not only do they need to be like-minded in your vision and your values, and your mission, but they also need to ensure that they're in the right position within that company. So if you're starting out, and I'm sure you have a lot of insight in marketing, you're not going to hire somebody who, is probably, an engineer that doesn't actually have any customer service skills, that doesn't really talk to people. That would be counterproductive to your business. So, and maybe not, maybe there's a position in your company for an engineer, whether it's a software engineer, but I was referring to, say, a civil engineer who they're in front of a computer all day, and they might have one person to answer to, but they don't have any customer service skills. You talk to them, it's like, what's up?
Right.
Hey.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it.
It's challenging to I will say that, don't get so caught up with your competition. Your competition is yourself. So the more you know about yourself, and your willingness to step out of your comfort zone and take action, the more confidence you have in your ability, not only to run your company, but also execute in your company, your specific trade. There is going to be a time, especially when starting out, you're going to have to do both. You are going to have to do both unless you've got the money to spend. If you got capital, by all means, spend it wisely. But if you don't have capital, I started out with $7,000. That's how I started my company. It was $7,000. I didn't have money to shell out on, multiple project managers, a bunch of trucks, their tools, my tools, uniforms, branding, marketing, classes, education, all that stuff. If you don't know it, then you need to, save up the money to spend and be able to understand it before you can execute. But
100%.
Get clear on your mission and vision and values. Get clear on those three things. Figure out where it is that you want to go, and then execute.
Love it, man. Thank you so much, David. So, man, everybody's giving love here. Everybody's saying amazing story. This is incredible. Thank you, guys. They love you, man. You're the best.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, David, we have a bunch of people in the community, the Jose Silvera community, the Business Players Live community, that they aren't in the real estate realm. Okay. They love real estate. They invest in real estate. They flip houses. Actually, there's a huge flipper here in the comments. It's a big friend too, Tiffany Walton. Shout out to her.
Hey, Tiffany.
Yeah.
How are you, Tiffany?
So, and she's watching. And
come to North Carolina. Come to North Carolina.
Yeah. She's in Hawaii.
Whoa, I'm going to come to Hawaii, actually. I would love to go to Hawaii. That sounds amazing.
Dude, me too. But listen, so these people, man, they, you're in the construction industry, man. You're a contractor, all of the things you deal with every single day. So what should be they looking at a property when they're doing this type of deals, like flipping or investing and to hold it and cash flow it? Tell them a little bit about that.
So naturally, when you're flipping a house, everyone looks at the bottom dollar. They look at potential in many different ways, but at the end of the day, it comes down to money. How much work is it going to take for you to capitalize on your investment, and how much of an investment can you make on the property, and what kind of time? So, and you look at the market right now, people are selling outdated houses for top of the market value right now. I mean, it's insane. I mean, I've seen houses that are, have 20-year-old worn out carpet, that 2 years ago they'd be selling at, a $10,000, $15,000 less, or sometimes $60,000 less than what they should actually be selling it, for today. It's crazy. It's a crazy market right now. Now, with that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't make money. You just have to find the deals. Now, with that being said, when you're out there going, when you found a property that you're interested in and you want to go take a look at it, be methodical in your inspection, but you're going to have to do an inspection. Whether you pay somebody to do that inspection or you do it yourself, you need to understand what you're looking for. And to understand that, you need to understand the basic structure, the basic principles of the structure itself. You have a roof, you have the framing, you have the walls, you have the foundation, and then you have your windows, your exterior flashings, your trim, your siding, all those things. There's cosmetics, and then there's the structure itself. Now, you have the bones, and then you have the body, what I like to call, you have the roof, the framing, the foundation. Then you have your electrical, plumbing, HVAC systems, and then you have your cosmetics, which is like your siding, your whether the house has interior drywall, or what kind of floor coverings they have. Now, with that being said, when you're going to look at these things, ensure and it'd be good to have a template already laid out before you actually get to the house to maximize your time. If you can create a template for yourself. Now, many people don't climb their own roofs. Most people don't climb on a roof. They're like, nope, not going to step out off on a ladder, and I'm not going to step on that steep ass roof. It's not going to happen. But it needs to happen. Most home inspection companies, and today you need to ask a question to a home inspection company whether they're going to specifically climb the roof or not. But oftentimes, most of those guys will get a little monocle and they'll look up at the roof with a little monocle, but you can't always see from the ground the actual condition of a roof. So wow, it's important to find somebody that's going to actually climb up there if you're not comfortable doing it yourself. Now, we got a lot of DIYers out here, I'm sure. But, if you're not comfortable, if you've never done it before, don't do it. Don't jump on a roof, tomorrow, or, don't jump on a steep roof, especially, and exercise some caution. Find somebody, make a friend, find a contractor, a reputable contractor as a friend, and, spend a little bit of money learning. Say, hey, can you do these inspections for me? And I will pay you for your time, but I want to learn, if that's what you want to do. If you're going to be flipping houses, you need to become familiar in the construction industry. There's just no question about it whatsoever. You definitely need to become familiar, not only with OSHA, standards, but your code, your local code, and make friends with an engineer, make friends with an architect, make friends with interior designers, build your network out, because you're going to eventually need those people depending on how large you get. So in essence, what I'm saying is be methodical in your approach to inspecting a home. But, there's a saying in contracting, you got to know your prices. That's probably in any industry, but you got to know your rates and you got to know your prices. So you need to be able to. 10 years ago, I would not be able to walk into a job and say, okay, this job, I can eyeball it and say this job's going to cost $75,000 to do. Wouldn't have been able to do that. So eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to know and have the confidence to say, okay, well, this flip is going to cost me $75,000 and it's going to take 3 months to do it. There's two resources that you're always going to spend, and that's time and money. You might be able to put some sweat equity in there and turn out a little bit of value, but you also have to determine what your time is worth as well. So with that being said, create a template. When you're doing inspections, document everything, take pictures. There's softwares out there that you can use. I use Company Cam for myself. I love Company Cam. I'm not a rep for Company Cam or anything like that. But I do love Company Cam. They are, nice. It's a great software, and it makes sharing pictures and sharing documents and sharing files so easy. You just send a link to that file, and you can send it to anybody and have them take a look at it and ensure that obviously your pictures that you take are worth it. You can't like, that's another class. Let me there. Getting back to after you do your inspections, you decide, hey, I want to buy a house. I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to go ahead and invest in this. What do you do now? You need to find a contractor. You need to find somebody to do the work, because let's face it, depending on how big you're going to go, or how many bills you have, what your life's like, some people live in a home while they flip it. Some people have the skills to be able to live there and do that. But honestly, if you're married and have a family, I don't recommend doing that, because living in a home that you plan on flipping has its own set of challenges. Whether it's, depending on what it is, whether you got nasty carpet, or it needs paint, or if you got some major renovations that need to happen in order to ensure that you're getting top of the market value, it's going to cause some stress. It's going to cause some strain on your relationships. I see that all the time. I get calls for projects where people are like, okay, I can't do this shit anymore. My wife's going to divorce me. I need you to come in here and fix this, please. Not a problem. We'll get it handled. It happens often, because people, they have big dreams. They want to do something. They want to make some money, and maybe they were given a house, but the house is condemnable, and they have to do all kinds of work to it, but they don't have the money. So they're like, okay, well, I'm going to move into this house, and I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to flip it, and we'll get something nice. 5 years later, they still have to work. They still have to make money. They don't have the money, so they have to work on it, but you still have to live. So you're working a full-time job and then trying to come home and do these projects, but you got, half of a room done here. You have all these different projects. You can't stay organized in life. And then also when you're flipping your home. So, you need to get some outside help. Market's good right now. If you are sitting on a house, and you know that there's some equity, use some other people's money. Go find a bank and apply for a loan. But either way, you're going to have to find a contractor. Now, with that contractor, you're going to want to find a reputable contractor. And just so you guys know, it's not always about price when it comes to a contractor. You're not looking for the lowest bid every time. Don't get me wrong. There's some guys out there who, might have a one-man show that might be that might just be literally a one-man operation. They wake up in the morning and they have a certain set of jobs that they do every day for a couple of people, and they are their own subcontractor, and they go out there and do work. It might be a tile guy, but that's probably, especially as a house flipper, you need to be the general contractor. More than likely, that's how you're going to make your most money, is if you're organizing the sub trades and getting the work done. So become a general contractor in your state. If you're becoming a house flipper, it's probably in your best interest to do so. But that's neither here nor there. If you outright own the property and you're trying to flip it, let's say you find a house, needs a new roof, needs some flooring, needs some new paint. You might need a new toilet, some faucets. It needs an update. Let's just say it needs some cosmetic updates. You need to find a contractor that's going to get out there and get the work done, but you need to have it done in 3 months. Anybody who's worth their salt in this industry right now is going to be busy. My company right now, we're about 2.5 months out on quite a few different projects right now. So it depends on if it's a roof, we're a little bit shorter on time, but if it's a full gut and remodel, or if it's water damage, if it's emergency work, obviously we can get to it within 4 hours, but you're stabilizing an environment, you have to do some testing, so on and so forth. But what I'm getting at is find a good contractor, not just one, but a couple of different good contractors, and stick with them. If you got a guy who is, number one, responsible, does what they say they're going to do, and can deliver results in the time frame that you're asking them to. Now, be reasonable. You got to have some good communication skills. If you're going to build a relationship with the contractor, they have to be able to work, and you can't just expect them to drop what they're doing and come do your project. All right. So you can get work done 2 of 3 ways. You can have it cheap, fast, and good. If it's cheap and fast, more than likely it's not going to be good. And if it's fast and good, then it's probably not going to be cheap. So you need to decide, you need to give yourself, in your planning is everything. So when you're planning this project out, when you're planning your flip out, figure out your time and figure out your budget. Those are the 2 main important principles. If you're writing stuff down, write those 2 things down. Plan your time and plan your budget. And within those 2 different things, that's where your contractor is going to make you your money. With your time, if you got 3 months to do a job, or 3 months to do a flip, or if you got 6 months to do a flip, 6 months is probably the better amount of time that I would plan on. Sometimes, okay, for instance, shortages of materials right now, getting cabinets. Oftentimes cabinets around here, unless they're very, very common cabinets, you're still looking at a lead time sometimes of 16 weeks, 4 months on cabinets. Wow. So you have to plan for material shortages right now. I mean, the flat roofs, I mean, there's certain chemicals that they're having trouble even making to get, EPDM right now, if you're doing commercial flips. But cabinets are very hard material to come by unless they're common, cabinets. But any custom builders right now are probably pretty backed up right now. So your time, you need to plan around things like that. You need to figure out in your market where your shortages are, and what the most valuable things are that you're going to need, and then plan around them. So for instance, if you got a kitchen, go ahead and order the cabinets before the job even starts, and make sure you have them available, so that when that contractor gets in there to start work, he doesn't have to pull his guys off the job to wait for something. That's just a small example, but flooring is the same way. Depending on what types of floors that you're going to go back with, there can be shortages on floors. But planning is everything. So make sure you take into consideration those things. With budget, with money, if you think your flip is going to cost you $50,000, take that $50,000 and multiply it by 20%, and then add that to your budget. That's how much money you're going to want, and generally you're going to need for unexpected problems that you face in a house. You might think that you only need to replace the floors, but come to find out that there's some serious foundational issues that you got to fix. But again, in most inspections, you can figure out somebody who's got a good eye for that and can do inspections, or that can, identify issues within a home and are really good at their job, can most of the time, help you avoid those unforeseen circumstances. But you can't always see them all. There might be something behind the walls that you can't tell. But with that being said, still within your budget, go ahead and plan, take 20% and add it to it. Contractors, with your contractors, there are 2 different ways that contractors are going to estimate jobs. They can build a comprehensive scope of work, or give you and I'll explain the differences too. You have a T&M estimate, or time and material, or somebody can build you a comprehensive scope of work. When you're getting bids for jobs, this is why I say don't go with the lowest bid all the time, because you need to compare the estimates apples to apples. You might be comparing orange apples to oranges, but you might get a guy who says his estimate, you might have a guy that comes in at $10,000 for a flooring project, and you have a guy that comes in at $5,000 for a flooring project. There could be a couple of different reasons for that. The guy that's coming in at $5,000 might only be charging you labor for the project, or maybe he's a one-man operation and it's going to take him, a few days to do that project versus one day to do that project. Or you could, have a guy who's not carrying insurance and, he's not really vetted, might not be paying his taxes. I mean, you got to do your homework on your contractors and figure out who's reputable and who's not, but also if they do a good job. But with the bids, I always recommend getting a comprehensive scope of work built for your project so that it's not going to leave you guessing on how much the project's going to cost. With my projects, I estimate them down to the very penny on what they're going to be. And by the time the job's finished, if there's change orders, it's because the change order is something they might have decided they wanted a different type of paint, or they wanted to upgrade the shower niche to a bigger niche, or they wanted to change the faucets out, or it's a change in what the original plan was. Mm-hmm. That's the idea of what a change order is it shouldn't be, oh, well, we ran into this problem on this job that we didn't foresee, but now you have to pay for it, so we're going to stick you with another $5,000. That's not, when you're flipping houses, you want to know how much you're going to spend and what you're going to be spending it on. So a contractor needs to be able to manage your money effectively, because you're trusting them with your time and your money.
Right.
So they need to be able to execute on those things. Now, when you're flipping houses, that's why I say get a comprehensive scope of work built. If you're not familiar with that term, get familiar with the term scope, because the scope is the whole job. So you have a micro view and a macro view. Your scope of work is everything that's going to take place in that project in order for you to get to a point where you can sell it. That micro view is, what needs to happen in the bathroom, what needs to happen in the kitchen, what needs to happen in the bedrooms, what needs to happen on the stairs, things like that. So the scope of work encompasses everything that needs to happen within that project in order to send you on your way. Now, time and material estimates are how much time you're going to have. If you're a GC, you're going to probably get a lot of T&M estimates from your subcontractors. So for guys that are doing tile, or they're doing their painting, or they're doing say they're doing some deck repairs on your home, you're going to say, okay, it's going to cost you, you have two guys out there and it's going to cost you, $75, $80 an hour, and it's going to, and then whatever the material costs. Chances are they'll probably mark up the material, whatever they need to mark it up to turn a profit. Contractors do mark up material because they spend time not only getting that material, but also unloading it and getting it to the job site. There's a lot that goes into actually ensuring that materials are on a project.
Right.
Not only money. But with that being said, understand the difference between a comprehensive scope of work and a T&M estimate. But within that comprehensive scope of work, if you're not familiar with what actually needs to happen in order to ensure that a project is finished, you might look at one guy's estimate and he might have redo the bathroom $10,000, a one line item estimate. And you're like, okay, that's a pretty good price. You might assume that means everything in the bathroom is going to get taken care of. And then you get an estimate from another guy and he's got the estimate broken down. Remove X amount of sheetrock, replace X amount of sheetrock, remove X amount of insulation, replace X amount of insulation, remove and replace baseboard, shoe, flooring, vanity, faucet, mirror, towel rack or towel holder, toilet paper holder, add electrical outlets, so on and so forth, add vanity lighting, tile shower, shower niche, shower pan. You might have that estimate broken down. And there's a lot that goes into each and every room, but you may look at an estimate and assume that the guy with the lower prices has all these things factored into his estimate, when in fact, he's going to hit you with those supplements and those change orders throughout the job. Next thing you know, the guy where you got what we all like to call sticker shock. When you get it, when guys, people get an estimate and they're like, holy shit, you're double what that other guy is. Okay, Well, why am I double what the guy is? Let's look at the
Right.
estimates and figure out why. What are we not including? Or it may very well be that this guy's overhead is a whole hell of a lot less than my guy's overhead, or that my
Right.
company's overhead. You know,
Yes.
there are those changes, but can they quality, quantity, and the time that it takes for them to actually do the job? So you got to make sure that you're comparing contractors. There's a trade-off for everybody. You know, you might have a bigger organization that's more expensive but can get it done faster, versus a smaller organization that that might come in cheaper, but they can't get to it for a few months. You know,
Right.
again, anybody in the industry right now who's worth a damn is going to be busy.
Mm-hmm.
Promise you. Somebody says they can get to it tomorrow, you need to pause what you're doing and go do some research on that guy, because
100%.
you know, I'm not saying that he's not or I'm not saying that he or she is bad, but it
It's
automatically
questionable.
to me throws up red flags when somebody can get to work tomorrow on something. You know, unless you're
Yeah.
talking, you know, a few $100,000 jobs and you got to like make a priority for something or miss an opportunity. Depends. But customer service is everything, in every industry, in sales, in whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're in construction, whether you're in car sales, whether you're a consultant, or it doesn't really matter. Customer service and the customer service experience is not only about price. So
Right.
when you're flipping
Guys,
houses, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, man.
When you're flipping houses, be methodical. You know, take a step back and don't just jump in right away. Collect all the information that you need. Do your market research, do your comps, and figure out who the good contractors are in the area. Who are the people that you want to work with? What connections do you have? And go out and build those connections. Find those good contractors. I highly recommend that you become a general contractor if you're going to be flipping houses.
Woo! Man, that was fire. People is saying in the comment, yes, bunch of fire. Tiffany, so Tiffany is here. She's been flipping houses, just so you know, David, for 17 years, man. And she said, he's hired. He knows his stuff. My kind of language. Yes, no, this guy,
Absolutely.
you see the people I'm bringing you guys? Just masters, experts, okay? David, man, thank you so much for being here. It's been amazing. You're killing it, and you obviously know, and you're passionate about this, man. And if anybody
Absolutely.
has any question, you can totally contact David. Okay, so they're in Charlotte. Okay, I left in the description his information. It says Wisconsin, but I'm gonna replace that. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, man. One last question, David.
My
Can
father
everybody
is
please
from
say
Wisconsin. Jose,
what's
I'm
up?
sorry. My father's from Wisconsin. That's probably where you got that from, man. I'm sorry.
Maybe. No, it's fine. But guys, please say thank you to David in the comments. And the last question, man, uh, what 3 tips can you give our audience? Okay, they're all business owners or they're flipping houses or whatever, but they're business owners. Okay, uh, on how to become a $1 million business a year. 3 tips.
3 tips.
Yeah.
Set your targets. You know, figure out how, you know, where you're going and how you're going to get there. You know, the who, what, why, when, and how. And build a good team. And then do what you say you're going to do. You need to deliver on, and you need to deliver results. Whatever industry that you take in, you can't do it alone. You need to figure out what you're doing, who you're doing it with, how you're going to do it. And the biggest, most important thing is why. Why are you doing this? Because shit is going to get hard for you. Period. End of story. It's not an easy thing to do. But if you don't know why you're doing it, you're going to give it up. You know, you're going to find something that, you know, that's more important to you and then go and do it. So if you're not truly convicted in what you're doing and what you're setting out to do and what you need to commit to, I mean, really take some time to think about it and go and do some research. You know, talk to some other people who have done it in your industry before and pick their brain. You know, take them out to eat, do whatever you got to do. Go learn, go learn, go learn. So again, figure out what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who you're doing it with. Chances are you will become successful at it.
Awesome. So he said targets, build a good team, and do what you're saying you're gonna do. Don't just
100%.
Yeah, don't just say it and learn and pay $15,000 on a course like David and I did, and then don't do shit with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's doesn't make any sense. Time
Right?
is the only resource you cannot get back. So use that time wisely. You know, if you're when you're starting your business, you need to set targets where you can be making money within 90 days. I mean, really, let's face it, you need to have about a nest egg of 90 days if you're doing it right. If you don't know shit about the industry or whatever industry you're getting into, figure out some type of supplemental income. You know, if you need to work part-time or work full-time or, you know, find somebody to go, a partner to go in with you, you know, while you're learning, you know, you got to figure out your resources. You know, money is energy, and you need to figure out, number one, how to get it and how to spend it. So when you're starting out, you need to do your market research, figure out who your competition is. But again, all that stuff, it will come. You can get your confidence, but the main thing is figure out how you're going to build a team. You know, can't do it alone. Whatever endeavors you're going to take in life, you don't want to do it alone. Honestly, alone is kind of boring. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, there's no way to scale it, right, David?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You need some like-minded individuals who are going to do it with you.
Man, thank you so much for being here, David. It was an amazing interview, guys. Please say thank you in the comments to David. Love you, man. Thank you for being here. And so, guys, we're going to be doing a summit, a real estate summit for everybody that is watching this, okay, next month. And David is going to be there, okay? He's going to be the contractor guy, the contractor piece of knowledge that is going to help you on, you know, whenever you're getting a deal, even if you're a realtor, you know, how to like teach, you know, give information to the customer, okay? That way you can help them out and guide them properly. So we're going to have this summit, okay? And we're going to have Tiffany there. She's there, okay? We're going to have a huge experts like David coming together and teaching you the ins and outs of the industry and about investing and all of this stuff, okay? If you think that's all that David knows, you're wrong. David is a genius in this stuff, okay? He's been doing it for 10 years. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. God bless you. God bless you, David. I can't believe you picked the time, got the time, man, to come and do this for all these people, man. It's amazing. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me, Jose. You take care of yourself.
Thank you, man.
Bye.
God bless you, bro. Woo!
Yes, sir. You too.